if you are taking Amlodipine, Losartan, or Lisinopril right now. The FDA approved something 18 days ago that most seniors will never hear about from their doctor, and that gap could be the exact reason your blood pressure is still not where it needs to be. Before we go any further, please subscribe. What I share on this channel is designed to protect people exactly like you. I want you to remember one name, Patricia. She was 70 years old, on 4 blood pressure medications, and still not at her target. In a few minutes, I am going to tell you exactly what happened at her next doctor's appointment and why it changed everything. But first, there are 5 things you need to understand. Number 1 is the most important thing in this entire video. Let's count down. Here is what most people over 60 are never fully told. If you take your blood pressure medication faithfully every single day and your pressure is still above where it should be, that is not a personal failure, and it is not bad luck. According to the American Heart Association, nearly 1 in 5 people with high blood pressure has what doctors call resistant hypertension. That means pressure stays too high even while taking 3 or more medications at full doses. And here is what makes this especially important if you are over 60. As we age, a hormone called aldosterone tends to become overactive in many people. Aldosterone tells your kidneys to hold on to salt and water. That pushes blood pressure up. Amlodipine, Losartan, and Lisinopril all work, and they have saved millions of lives, but none of them stop aldosterone at the source. They manage the pressure. The root cause keeps running in the background. Millions of seniors taking their pills faithfully every day, still not hitting their target. That is not a willpower problem. That is a biology problem. And for the first time in decades, there is a new answer. But before I tell you what that answer is, you need to understand why your current medications have a blind spot that nobody ever explained to you. And it starts with a hormone most patients have never heard of. That is number 5. Everything I am sharing today is based on published clinical trial data and a formal FDA approval from May 18th, 2026. This is not a supplement. This is not a natural remedy. This is a prescription medication that went through years of rigorous testing before the FDA granted it priority review status. AstraZeneca's phase 3 trial called BaxHTN tested this drug in real patients, already on standard treatment and still not controlled. The results were published in the New England Journal of Medicine and the Lancet. I am Dr. Nathan Hale, and what I am sharing today is not opinion. It is the current frontier of cardiovascular medicine. Now, number 5. There is a hormone called aldosterone, and there is a good chance no one has ever explained what it does to your blood pressure. Your adrenal glands, small structures sitting on top of each kidney, produce aldosterone. Its job is to tell your kidneys how much salt and water to hold on to. When aldosterone becomes overactive, your body holds too much fluid. Blood pressure rises, and it does not let go, no matter how many medications you add. A condition called primary aldosteronism, where aldosterone production becomes excessive, is estimated to affect up to 10% of all people with high blood pressure. Most of them are never tested for it. Most of them never know. Think of Margaret, 68 years old, 3 medications, walking every day, low sodium diet, still 158/96. Her doctors were running out of ideas. What nobody had ever tested, and what none of her medications addressed, was whether aldosterone was the real driver. Now that you understand what aldosterone is, the next question is why? After 60 years of blood pressure medicine, nobody has been able to stop it until now. That is number 4. Amlodipine relaxes the walls of your blood vessels. Losartan blocks a hormone called angiotensin II that causes vessels to tighten. Lisinopril prevents your body from making that angiotensin II in the first place. 3 different drugs, 3 different pathways. All 3 work, and all 3 have saved millions of lives. But here is what none of them do. None of them go directly to the adrenal gland to stop aldosterone production at the source. Losartan comes closest. Blocking angiotensin II also somewhat reduces how much aldosterone your adrenal glands release, but reduce is not the same as stop, and in people where aldosterone overproduction is the main driver, reducing it partially is simply not enough. Think of it this way. If there is a pipe leaking inside your wall, you can put towels on the floor and manage the damage. That is what all three of these medications do beautifully. But for decades, no drug could go to the wall and shut off the pipe until number 3, because number 3 is where everything changes. The drug is called Baxfendy, generic name baxdrostat, and it is unlike anything that has existed before in blood pressure medicine. Baxfendy is the world's first approved aldosterone synthase inhibitor. It works by blocking the specific enzyme called CYP11B2 that your adrenal glands use to produce aldosterone. It does not try to manage blood pressure from the outside. It goes directly to the source, and it stops production. Scientists tried this pathway before, but earlier attempts interfered with cortisol, your body's main stress hormone. Disrupting cortisol creates serious problems of its own. Baxfendy solved that. It is highly selective. It targets only the enzyme responsible for aldosterone without touching cortisol. That selectivity is why approval was possible after decades of failed attempts at this same target. Let me tell you about Richard. 72 years old. 2 blood pressure medications for 4 years. Numbers acceptable, never ideal. His cardiologist was already discussing a third drug. When I explained the aldosterone pathway to him, he looked at me and said, "Why has nobody ever mentioned this before?" The honest answer is that until 18 days ago, there was simply nothing to prescribe. But does it actually work? Because a new mechanism means nothing without proof. The data in number 2 is going to surprise you. Let me give you the real numbers. Plain language, no jargon. The phase 3 trial was called BaxHTN. It included adults whose blood pressure was already being treated with standard medications and still not controlled. These were not patients just starting their journey. These were people who had been trying for years and still not reaching their goal. Patients on the 2 milligram dose of Baxfendy achieved an additional drop of 9.8 millimeters of mercury in systolic blood pressure, on top of what their existing medications were already doing. To put that in context, most blood pressure medications are considered clinically meaningful if they lower systolic by 8 to 10 points. Baxfendy achieved that on top of treatment that was already in place. Then there was Bax24, a separate study measuring blood pressure all day and all night, not just in the clinic. Patients on Baxfendy saw a reduction of 16.6 millimeters of mercury over 24 hours. The placebo group saw just 2.6. That is not a marginal improvement. That is a meaningful, measurable drop in people who had run out of easy options. And now, we arrive at number 1. The most important thing in this entire video. The one thing that determines whether Baxfendy ever helps you, or whether you go home from your next appointment never knowing it existed. Number 1 is not about the drug. It is about you. Baxfendy is not a replacement for Amlodipine, Losartan, or Lisinopril. It is an add-on treatment, approved specifically for adults whose blood pressure is not adequately controlled on their current medications. If your numbers are well controlled, if your doctor is satisfied, you do not need to change anything. The goal is never change for the sake of change. But if your readings are still above target despite treatment, if your doctor has been debating whether to add yet another drug, if you have been told your hypertension is resistant, Baxfendy was designed for exactly that situation. There is one critical thing to monitor, because Baxfendy reduces aldosterone, and aldosterone normally helps your kidneys release potassium. Your potassium levels can rise. High potassium affects the electrical rhythm of your heart. Blood work before starting and regularly after is not optional. It is part of the treatment. Sodium levels also need watching. Your doctor will guide this. And now, I want to close the loop on Patricia. Patricia was 70, on 4 blood pressure medications, still not at her target. She had done exactly what you are doing right now, educating herself. She walked into her next appointment and asked one question: is my blood pressure actually controlled? And is there something newer I should know about? Her cardiologist had received new information about Baxfendy that same week. That appointment changed her treatment. She asked because she knew to ask. Now you do too. Here is what I want you to take away from today. Your medication is not failing you. But your biology may need something your medication was never designed to fix, and now, for the first time, there is an option. If this video helped you, share it right now. There is someone in your life, a spouse, a sibling, a friend, who takes blood pressure medication and has never heard of Baxfendy. They need to know. And I have a question for the comments. Is your blood pressure currently controlled on your medication? Just type yes or no below, because your answer tells me exactly what to make next for you. Subscribe if you haven't already, because the next video covers something that affects everyone taking blood pressure medication after 60, and most people have absolutely no idea it is happening.